We're here for another vlog. This one's called Husband and Wife. No, that's not what it's called. It's two husband and wife.
Hi.
But, oh, wife's here. So this is two husband and wife. The letter goes something like this. When I came out, I'm a late bloomer, as some would call it. I noticed that a lot of lesbians, both femme and butch, were male bashers and gay bashers. As I was married for a little over 10 years and had one child that is male, I never could understand why some lesbians felt it appropriate or necessary to trash the entire male species. I even feared for my son's emotional and mental state with so many lesbians out there in the world that have this death, bash, and trash all men attitude. Because I'm black and have had to deal with racism all my life, I just couldn't adopt this negative attitude towards all men, straight or gay, as it would surely prevent me from loving my son as a mother should. Besides, one day my son would grow up to be a man, and then what am I supposed to do? Turn on him as though he is no longer the flesh of my flesh? Further, gays are discriminated against just as much, as if not more, since we live in a man's world. So why on earth would lesbians want to divide and separate the group of homosexuals even further to create even more bigotry, prejudice, and discrimination? Granted, not every lesbian is a male or gay basher, but I've certainly met enough of them to know that it is a serious problem in our society and our LGBT community. With all the separatistness and segregation going on within our subculture, no wonder we can't accomplish establishing the rights we deserve as human beings. We show the entire world how unfit and undeserving we are by disrespecting ourselves. Always sick and tired.
Well, sick and tired? We even have somewhat differing views on this.
See, I came from when it was burn your bra and the women's movement started. Wife came many years after that, and
not many, only 16.
Well, that's a lot. But anyways, there had been like almost 20 years of time where things got settled down in the women's movement. And my point is that when the women's movement started, women couldn't find a space even to rent to have a women's movement. So we got to the point where there's no space on earth where we could be without any men. And we wanted to create a woman-only, woman-safe space. And that's where the politics started happening, and the women's groups divided off from the lesbian groups divided off from the gay men's groups, because they didn't like some of the violent reactions that were happening. And it wasn't violence, it was just that they were heated arguments where people would actually verbally bash one another. And in those meetings, and lesbians decided that we could do it in a more peaceful matter. So a lot of women still bash men, and there are a lot of gay men who don't want to have anything to do with women, period. That's why they're gay men. And there are absolutes in each group.
Yes,
correct?
But in the same way, I can remember, many of you that have read our stuff know that I was raised by a great-grandmother, which means that there was 40 years between she and I. She was 40 years my senior. And that being said, she was somebody that came up in a generation where all she could do was be a secretary. And she was the secretary before I came along, and that was the job she retired from to be able to raise me. So she was somebody that preached to me tolerance instead of all the bashing and bigotry and hatefulness, even though that's the only job she could have because of the men and everything else. And she also let me sit at a table with a bunch of women, sort of a round table discussion, where there were women on both sides of the issue, where there were women saying, you know what, shut up about all this women's lib. I want to stay home and have babies, and I don't want to go out and work. And there were the other women that said, you know what, I want the rights. I want to go out and work. So I saw both sides, and I understand both sides. So I am of the opinion that I don't think it was just men that kept us down. There were women that kept us down as well.
And yeah, that's true. And also there are women who really want to have the power and the life of a man, but they don't want to be with men. And so what happens? People hate. People hate for all kinds of reasons. And in this case, women were sick and tired of not being paid equitably, and we're still not paid equitably. Women were tired of being passed by for raises because they're mommy trackers. They're going to get pregnant anyways and leave the job. So a guy's got to support a family.
You know what? Now we have daddies that are staying home with their kids, and the mommies are working, and they're being passed up because of it. Not as much, but it's getting there. So
and I also think that men in this society realized when women wanted to go to work, at first they were like put down by it, and they were angered because, well, I support the family. This is like you're ripping their pants off and leaving them in their underwear. And then all of a sudden they started realizing the beauty of it. Hey, if my wife goes to work and I go to work, that means I don't have the burden of all this anymore. I can have more of a life. She can help me. We can have more. And so that's what's happened. And now it's almost impossible to be in a couple, this same-sex couples or heterosexual couples that where both parties, one can stay home and one works, and both don't work, so or both have to work. So more and more jobs are being created now to stay at home, so neither party feels like, well, I have to go out, you get to stay home, and how about if we switch that role?
Telecommuting is great.
It is, and I'm telling you that more and more people are doing exactly what we're doing, and but we're off the track a little bit here. Sick and Tired wanted to know why all this bashing is going on, and that has been the biggest problem in the gay community. It's because gay men's side, lesbian side, and the two kind of don't flow together, and you younger gay people or gender rebel, queer rebels, whatever you're calling
are really
yourselves,
bridging the gap
are helping us bridge the gap, and that's
thank
why
you for that.
Yes, because that's why we're doing what we're doing now, is because we've been saying for many years, I've been saying since Stonewall, why do we have to hate each other? I understand men want to be with men and women want to be with women, and women went off and had their communes of separatism, and men did the same thing.
We can't have men or women without the other, because you got to have the sperm with the egg to get the baby that makes the men or the women, gay, straight, bi, or trans, or whatever you might be. You have to come from that egg and sperm together.
It's just the way the world works. You have to have yin and yang. You have to have male and female.
You have to have the bitter with the sweet.
You have to, and all of us, you know, the days of all those hippie communes and things, I know there's still some out there, and there's ashrams and things, and that's cool. I appreciate everybody who wants to do whatever they want to do. But you know what? It's just not practical now to hate anybody.
Right, and if you want to be accepting, first you must be accepted.
Right.
And if you want to be accepted, first you must be accepting. That's
and there's so many lesbians now that are getting gay men donors so gay men can be fathers, and so they're making their own unique families, and instead of us being hated for that, why shouldn't we be embraced by that we're trying to bridge the gap between gay, lesbian, bi, and trans. So we're here again to say that yes, there are separatists. There was a lot of separatism that happened during the 70s. There's still a lot of talk of separatism at the festivals, but you know what? It's time we move on. We're in the 2000s now. I mean, it's a whole different millennium. Millennium.
It's time we all start getting along.
Right, and
get
over
the bullshit, people.
Because the more we unify as human beings and be accepting of everybody's differences, then all this isn't going to be an issue. And whoever wants to marry whoever will be able to, and it'll stop looking weird. Yeah. So our kids are going to bring forth where they're already normal with bi, trans, gay, straight, and they all hang out together. Yeah, mixed races. They're all hanging out together. It's not an issue. They don't walk down the street and go, oh, hey, look, there's somebody who's of color.
Yeah, they don't stare anymore.
Gay.
You remember when you were a kid and your grandma said, don't stare at that? Nobody's staring anymore. So just knock out your bullshit, people.
And they're our future, and if we can love them and nurture them, we can all bridge that gap, and we can be the people of the United States. And that's what we need to do, and I think we're out of time now. So hopefully, Sick and Tired, we answered your question. If not, you write us, and we'll come back to this, because this is a very big subject, and we only got 10 minutes. Later.
Bye.